that does
Sorry, Colts fans.
so that does break us into the top 10 here. Coming in at number 9, but moving down in the rankings is the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, that was my favorite game to watch on Sunday afternoon, the late game with them and the Chargers. It was just a back and forth shootout. Unfortunately, they didn't make enough plays to win, and they kind of allowed this game to kind of slip away. Both of their losses, you can say that they could have won these games, both against AFC West games teams, I should say, opponents, Chiefs and Chargers. Surprising that they allowed that many points, almost 50 points. But the Chargers are looking like a top team right now. I'm not real worried about the Browns. I think they'll be fine. But it is a bit concerning to see a team put up that many yards and points against them. So I had to drop them a little bit.
Yeah, I'm okay with the Browns at 9. I do still think they're a top 10 team, but I also think they've got a lot to prove. They've got the Cardinals this week. That would be a huge win if they could hand the Cardinals their first loss. I don't think they will, but it would be a huge win for them, and they could probably vault them into the top 5 if they end up doing that. But they've got a relatively easy schedule. They've had a relatively easy schedule. They beat the Texans. They beat the Bears when they were trying to figure out what they were going to do at quarterback. They beat the Vikings 14-7 in Minnesota. And so, they've kind of taken advantage of a weak schedule. Their 2 tough opponents were the Chiefs and the Chargers, and that's their 2 losses.
Yeah, they've definitely got to prove themselves by beating a better team, preferably in the AFC, or like you said, next week against the Cardinals, that's a prime opportunity. If they lose that one, then you're looking at 3-3, and then 3 losses against the good team. So that's not a great look. Obviously, Cleveland's not known for sustained success over the course of more than one season. But it's true. So I'm kind of waiting for that other shoe to fall, so to speak. Maybe I shouldn't be like that, but that's kind of the way things have gone in Brownstown for
do you trust
over
Baker
2
Mayfield
decades. Yet? I like Baker Mayfield. I really
do too, but do you trust him?
I trust him, but I think he's one of those guys similar to kind of like Jameis. He needs a good running game, which they have. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, probably the best RB duo in the league. But I still think he could be prone to making a dumb interception in the end zone at the end of a game. I like his competitive spirit. I like his personality. His size isn't great, but you can win with a small quarterback these days. So I think he's good enough to win big with, but he needs a total team effort, I would say.
So in a hashtag waffle way, you don't trust Baker.
I mean, I don't trust him the same as I would Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. I think he's in that kind of next tier. I guess he hasn't proved it yet. So if I have to say a definitive thing, I sort of trust him, but when it gets to the big moment, I don't know.
Okay, and hashtag waffle merch is on the website, so you can go ahead and get your waffle merch.
Waffle Wallace. Is that going to be a new one?
Yeah, there we go. Okay. We can definitely put your Twitter handle on there, right underneath there. So coming in at number 8, you have a top team, a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense, but they're coming in at number 8, the Dallas Cowboys.
Ooh. Yeah, I was watching the show earlier, and I know Buck, you're all over the Cowboys. I really like the Cowboys. I think having them at 8, they've been kind of inching up my rankings week by week. I really like what I've seen out of Trayvon Diggs, Micah Parsons, the rookie linebacker, and the offense has been phenomenal. There's a lot to like here, but kind of tapping into what you guys were saying, I don't trust them as much as some other teams in the NFC when it comes down to it, because they just haven't been there. And it's been going back to the late 90s when the Cowboys have been into a championship game, and I know history doesn't necessarily have anything to do with what's going to happen in the future, but I'm not sure about Prescott when it comes to the playoffs. The last time I can remember him being in a really big game, it was his first season when they were up against the Packers. They ended up losing that game. It wasn't his fault necessarily, but I think I trust the Bucks a bit more. I think I trust the Rams a bit more, and probably the Packers too.
Yeah,
I really like.
Stop sleeping on the Cardinals.
Yeah, I know. That we're gonna get to them. I really like the Cardinals, but well, we'll get there. And I like the Cowboys too. They kind of got to prove it a bit more.
Yeah, like I didn't think about the whole trust aspect, meaning because like the Cowboys, what their last Super Bowl was 95, right? Or is it 96? But so I mean, it's been
Cowboys fans will tell you it's 95.
Yeah, I mean,
95,
so it's been 15 plus years, and the last time the Cowboys won a Super Bowl, Dak Prescott was like 6 years old, right? Or is something ridiculous. So I mean,
Graham wasn't even born yet.
Yeah, so I mean, I I definitely understand like the trust aspect, and you have to learn how to win, just like the Chiefs had to lose that AFC Championship game to win the Super Bowl like the next year, right? They had to learn how to lose before they can win. So I definitely understand that. But speaking of learning how to win, the Rams, you have them coming in at number 7, moving up in your power rankings.
Yeah, it was kind of a good bounce back performance. Not an outstanding one, but Thursday Night Football, they were able to take out the Seahawks. A bit of a weird game, 26-17. So it's a good bounce back game for them. It's been a couple of weeks since we've seen that real explosive Rams team like we saw the first 3 games of the season. Last 2 games, only averaging 23 points a game. But I really like what I've seen from the defense. They lost Brandon Staley as the defensive coordinator. I don't really think it matters that much. They still have the players to go out and make the plays. Stafford also hasn't been as sharp as he was the first 3 games. A couple more interceptions here lately. He's a quarterback who also I think needs to prove himself in the playoffs. He's only been in, I think, 2 or 3 playoff games, all losses, all with the Detroit Lions. I know it's not easy to win a playoff game with that team, but I think he does still have a bit to prove as far as winning the big games with his arm, but I still think they're a Super Bowl contender until they're not.
Yeah, and I think that you got I like that stat because when you first said Rams at 7, I was like, yeah, and then you're like 23 points the last 2 weeks. They've kind of taken a dive. They have, but it's been against division opponents, and those divisional games you can't really count on. Trouncing your opponent or scoring a ton of points. These next 3 weeks, I think you're going to see the explosive offense again. They get the Giants, the Lions, and the Texans. So I think that explosive offense is going to come back. I think they're going to put up 40 points a game again, and you're going to see it, and that defense is going to shine. Where I want to see them is right after that because they get the Titans, the Niners, and the Packers in 3 straight weeks. So that's where I really want to see them get to. I think they're easily going to win the next 3 weeks, but then those 3 following weeks, I want to see if they ride that momentum and really carry it and put it on some decent defenses.
Yeah, so jumping in the chat here real quick, Cade comes in and says the yards that the Rams are giving up is very misleading. When you're up by 21 in the 4th, they just play soft zone to kill the clock. So kind of take that into perspective.
Yeah, but
they
haven't been up by that in the fourth quarter of the last 2 games.
The last 2 games
they lost big to the Cardinals, and then they had to battle it out with Geno Smith in the fourth quarter and hold down Geno Smith in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. So that doesn't apply for the last couple games.
He moved the ball well on them too, by the way. Geno Smith moved that ball pretty damn well on that Rams defense.
Decent, actually.
Yeah,
I think
decent.
I don't know about that. I mean, like decent backup quarterback, decent, like maybe win a game or 2, decent.
Top 42, maybe.
So I saw this thing on Twitter. He's the last rookie quarterback to beat Tom Brady. Did you guys see that?
I did see that. That's crazy stat, isn't it?
It blew my mind. Because he was not very good with the Jets. I mean, they're the Jets. I get it. Zach Wilson's going through it right now. But anyways, that was a funny stat.
So just to retract what I said, Cade said he was talking about the Cowboys, not the Rams. So
okay.
So that's
I like the Cowboys defense, and this Trayvon Diggs guy, he could have over 10 interceptions. No one's done that since Everson Walls in 1981. So this could be a real defensive breakthrough, and it'd be cool to see a cornerback win or a secondary player. I believe he's at 5.
He's at 6. So
he's at 6.
6 in 5 games. Yep.
That's incredible. He's a really physical player, and it would be really cool to see a secondary player possibly win Defensive Player of the Year. That doesn't happen that often.
You guys want a real hot take? He will not get another interception for the rest of the year.
Whoa. I think I'd probably take him getting at least
one. You guys remember Revis Island a couple years ago, like 10 years ago? That's exactly what's going to happen. So
Revis does too. Just ask him.
Yeah. Coming in at number 6, you have This team moving up in your power rankings, the Green Bay Packers.
Well, they won. They won the game.
My God.
I know I'm going to get it here, but it's probably not as bad as it could get. This team's won a lot of close games lately, which there's two ways of looking at it. Well, they're not blasting teams. They're not beating the doors off the Bengals, for gosh sakes. This was a road game. Let's not forget that. But the other side of that coin is that they're able to pull out the close games. Rodgers looks pretty sharp. The defense is starting to look a bit more like it could be a factor as the season wears on. Combs, you don't like this at all. Where do you think I should have them?
How does their defense look like they're able to? They look like they've looked for the last 2 years. They can't stop the run to save their lives.
They added Jalen Smith.
They can't stop the run to save their lives. Look. I'll give you Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is always going to look good because he's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
all right, he's a top 3 quarterback of all time. So he's Aaron Rodgers. So I expect him to look good, and he's going to look good. As a team, I mean, great. You beat the Lions. You blew a 17-point lead to the Niners. You beat an abysmal Steelers team, and then it took you 9 missed field goals before you finally made one to go ahead and beat the Bengals, who you probably should have beat the brakes off of. And now you're going to go into Chicago against a team that is 3-2, and they're looking for their identity, and they're running the ball a lot better, which is your one weakness on defense. I'm not going to pick the Bears this weekend, probably.
Right.
But I think the Bears actually have a legitimate shot at pulling off the upset. I think 6 for the Packers, I think, is very, very high. I probably would flip-flop them with the Cowboys.
Okay, 6 and 8. That's not too bad. Rodgers does tend to come up with some big time performances against the Bears, so look out for that. But Chicago's playing some good ball right now. They could definitely be competitive in that game. I do think there's something to be said for winning these close games. It really galvanizes the team, and that's exactly what this next team on my list did. They pulled out a game they had no business winning. I considered dropping them even though they won the game. But at the end of the night, I was just like, they shouldn't have won that game, and they did. So, I'm talking about the Baltimore Ravens. What a weird game that was Monday night. They just couldn't get anything going offensively. Lamar Jackson looked sluggish. He had that weird fumble on the goal line. Did he fumble? Did he not fumble? It looked like a defensive touchdown. It turns out Darius Leonard went down on the lateral, which is a great idea. He just had his knee down. And then they come screaming back. They have the long touchdown bomb. They're able to get some stops on defense. That Blankenship couldn't make a kick to save his life either. Even to win the game, they had 2 chances to win this game at least. They had about 10 chances to win it.
I went to bed in the fourth quarter. I thought it was over.
Oh my
25-7. I went to bed.
I'm so glad I stayed up to watch this. And Lamar Jackson, that might have been the game of his life, even though he played so poorly early on. Over 400 yards passing. He's really showing his skills as a thrower, not just as a runner, although he's very dangerous that way as well. The defense looked really shaky, but it came up with some plays late. I don't know. I kind of like this Ravens team to kind of keep rolling.
Yeah.
Only time will tell, I guess. I mean, I don't like the Ravens at all. And Lamar Jackson.
You don't like Lamar Jackson.
Will always be trash. Coming in at number 4, unchanged from last week, is you do have the Chargers.
Yeah.
Very, very good team. I think the best team in the AFC, but you have them coming in at number 4.
Yeah, you could certainly make that case. I'm going to make mine against that a little bit later, but I really liked Justin Herbert. He's looking like a top tier quarterback right now. Like he's in that same group with Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers and those guys. That's how sharp he's been. And the defense has looked, they gave up 42 points, so it's hard to say they've been really impressive or anything, but they have shown a good pass rush. Derwin James is back and healthy, which could be a big factor for them. I really like the confidence Brendan Staley has shown in his guys. They've gone for a lot of 4th down gambles. I really like the identity of this team, so much more than what they had going the last couple of years with Anthony Lynn. They were kind of knocking on the door, but they couldn't quite figure things out.
Combs. Oh, that's mine. Oh, sorry. So I don't have any faith in the Chargers whatsoever. Yes, I do think they are going to win the AFC West. I do think they are the best team in the AFC. However, I have to revert back to what you said about the Cowboys and the Browns. It's kind of like, when is the other shoe going to fall? When are they going to start to stumble? And I think that's the first round of the playoffs. Yes, they might get the bye, but that's going to hurt them more because they don't have any of that playoff experience. Herbert doesn't have that playoff experience, and then you're going to face a team probably like Kansas City that has been there and done that time after time after time. And I am predicting the Kansas City Chiefs to whoop that Charger ass in the playoffs in the second round.
They got their work cut out for them to get there. Certainly, there's a lot of football to be played. This is where it's going to take a bit of a turn. And, I've already taken my lumps for this. Combs might not be happy with me here, but that's okay. I had Cardinals at 3 last week. I had them at 3 last week, and I kept them exactly at 3 because they had a very stick in the mud kind of game against the 49ers, 17-10. They easily could have lost this game if the 49ers couldn't stay out of their own way. If I don't think I said that properly, you know what I mean? So many penalties by the 49ers. It's cool to see them win a more defensive battle. I like their defense. I really like this team, but I can't move Tampa Bay down after they put up 45 points. You could say on the Dolphins. So what? That was a very impressive win. And the Buffalo Bills hammered the Kansas City Chiefs, 172 points, the most points in the NFL.
The Kansas City Chiefs have a losing record.
That was still a big game. You can't say it wasn't a big game. It was still an AFC Championship rematch, and the Chiefs, they just took them and whooped them. And
I was impressed by that.
I'm not.
You are such a.
They have the most points in the NFL.
The Arizona Cardinals, everybody, the first 3 weeks, the Arizona Cardinals are putting up crazy amounts of points. They're blowing teams out of the water, and everybody's like, oh, well, look at who they're playing. They had to come back. They got into a shootout with the Minnesota Vikings, and they beat the Jaguars, and they destroyed the Titans. But then they get into these divisional games in the best division in football. They get into these divisional games. They go to Los Angeles. They knock on the door, kiss their moms on the mouth, and whoop their butts in their own house. And then they get into a battle with another team who's very, very good defensively, and they win that game 17-10, and you still don't believe in them.
Without their starting quarterback.
I don't. How do you? There is no way you can have a team that has not lost yet, has beaten every opponent in front of them, and you have them behind 2 teams with losses.
I do, because I think the Bills and Bucks are better teams.
Yeah, so
I think if they played today, the Bills and Bucks would beat them both. Well, that would be weird. It would be like 3 games. We'll see. We'll see this week.
We won't, because
the
Bucks aren't going. They're not going to play the Bucks this year. Do they play the Bills?
Well, we might not have to. No, we might not be able to see until later. But I think there's going to be some cracks in the foundation eventually.
Yeah, they got the Browns and Texans the next 2 weeks, and then they get the Packers and 49ers, and that's where I'm interested to see how the Cardinals perform. I think they win these next 2 weeks. Yeah. I think they play Green Bay in Arizona. I think they're 7-0. Heading into that game.
It'll get to a point, guys, where I'll have to have them at 1, but it's going to be really hard to drop the Bills just because they're playing so well right now.
It's going to be hard to drop the Bills because they're your favorite team. Don't lie.
Have you watched those games? Have you guys watched those games?
I have, but I'm not impressed by Kansas City. Kansas City hasn't played good defense all year long.
Have you been impressed by Buffalo, though?
I've been impressed with some of Buffalo, yes. I haven't been impressed with as much of Buffalo as I have been with the Arizona Cardinals, not at all. Because the Buffalo Bills lost to the Steelers in opening week, but then they beat the Dolphins, the Washington, and Houston. And then they beat the Chiefs, who are playing horrible football right now.
So those 4 wins, they gave up a total of 41 points. Barely over 10 points a game they're averaging.
They were playing Washington, Miami.
Washington was going 13-4.
They weren't playing anybody.
You got to win the games that you're up against. You could call me a homer if you want
Arizona's won all of them that they've been up against. What do you mean?
Yeah, they're number 3 in my rankings. I don't think that's disrespectful at all. I think they're a very good team, but this is a team that missed the playoffs last year.
Yeah, and they're going to miss the playoffs again this year too.
Yeah, it very well. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen, but they were 7-3 last year.
Yeah,
and what happened the rest of that season? 2-5. So they choked at the end of that season.
Buffalo's got the Titans, Jaguars, Jets for the next Titans, Dolphins, Jaguars, Jets for the next 4 weeks. So you're going to have them at number 1 for at least the next 4 weeks. They're going to put up 8,000 points in the next 4 weeks because they're playing the bottom of the barrel.
Well, I mean, they have the
NFL.
most points in the NFL, so they probably
in
will.
In those 4 weeks, the Cardinals will win. They'll beat the Green Bay Packers. They'll be 4-0 in those 4 weeks, so you'll still have the Cardinals at 3.
They might lose to Cleveland this weekend. Who knows?
They're not going to lose to Cleveland.
Well,
Is it in Arizona?
It's in Cleveland.
It's in Cleveland. Yep.
Oh,
405.
good opportunity for them. I'm just saying.
So just to round out the top 10 here, is you do have the Bills at number 1 and Bucks at number 2, unchanged from last week.
Yeah.
And I think you gave a definite good fight for the Bills to be number 1, and there's no reason to drop the Bucks at number 2 because 5 touchdowns and like 400 yards passing for Tom Brady.
5-0 is all I gotta say. It's the only argument I need, Sean.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So that's going to be